Next call for Christy Todd Whitman, Indianapolis, Republican.
Hi, my question is with regard to whether or not you have an opinion as to what is the optimum temperature for man on this planet. And the second question is, why isn't the sun a factor in the global modeling, computer modeling, when it comes to studies on global warming?
Well, actually, my understanding is the sun is factored in on some of the models, obviously not all of them, but on some of them. You know, as far as climate change is concerned, our Earth has been changing since it was formed. There was an ice age, and that went away, and we weren't around to muck that up. So I have no problem with saying people can adapt, climate can adapt, the world can adapt to these changes. The problem is that with what we're doing, man is exacerbating a natural trend and causing it to happen so fast that nature cannot absorb it anymore. Nature cannot react. We don't see the kinds of changes that over time, it's not the slow period that nature needs in order to be able to accommodate species. And so that's what's problematic about it. As you've heard from many of the studies, some parts of the world will be better off. You'll have a milder climate in Canada, and that's great, but you're going to have other parts of the world where you're going to have more disease, where you're going to have more problems, where you're going to have more floods, where you're going to have worse storms. They're going to happen faster, they're going to be more intense, they're going to be more frequent, and it's a question of this balance. And really what we need to do is try to slow down this rate of change that is something where we have an enormous impact, so that it can be managed, in a way that will allow people to be able to adapt and live. I don't know what the magic number is on a weather, on a temperature. It varies. Temperature varies greatly around the world now. But we need to be able to adapt to it. If it happens too fast, we're not going to be able to accommodate it, and we're going to see a lot of problems that arise from that. And that's where we need to take some action, I believe. Plus the fact that those, there are 6 greenhouse gases. They're not all good for human health. Just irrespective of whether you're worried about climate change, it's not going to harm us to try to take some of the pollutants out of our atmosphere so that we can have healthier lives and we can have a cleaner, greener environment.
According to the Nuclear Energy Institute, Vermont gets 75% of its electricity from nuclear power. New Hampshire, about 42%, a couple of the northeastern states, and New York, about 30%. Nuclear power plants, there are 104 commercial nuclear reactors in the U.S. currently operating. Carnegie, Oklahoma.
Oh, good morning. Thank you, C-SPAN, for being there. What would we do without you? I'm living here in Oklahoma in a town of 1,500 people. I recently moved here from California. I was born and raised in California. I turned 60 years old in April. My question, Ms. Whitman, what is the answer for people that are just ignorant or ignoring the problem with our planet? Is it education and the media getting the information out? Or, you know, my health has fallen ill. I've suffered with asthma, with chronic bronchitis for almost 20 years. Now, 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with COPD. I also have an autoimmune deficiency problem, and I'm susceptible to many things in the environment. Now, I've recycled since the early 70s when I moved up toward Yosemite National Park in the mountains. I had to get out of the San Joaquin Valley so I could breathe. My specialist, the pulmonary lung specialist, said, you need to get out of the San Joaquin Valley.
Okay, caller, we got the point. Let's get an answer.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry for everything that you're facing, and while we don't always know what causes some of these problems, such as asthma, we do know what exacerbates them, and that's bad air quality. Can trigger an attack or exacerbate an attack. So there's no question but that I believe we need to do more to help our environment. We are better off today than we were when the Environmental Protection Agency was established back in 1970. The air is cleaner, the water is purer, land's better protected, but still we have 40% of our rivers and waterways that are not fishable, drinkable, swimmable. Still we have people such as yourself who are getting sick because of bad air quality, and we still treat much of our land like a dump site, and it is a question of education. And it's everybody. It takes leadership from the top. It takes pressure from the bottom, and believe me, individuals can have an enormous impact. When you watch shows like this and you get knowledge and you get understanding, go to your local representative, start asking some questions. You really can change things, and once you get people at the top to focus that this is an issue about which the American people care, they'll start paying more attention. But when you give the American people an open-ended question saying, what are your top 3 issues or your top 10 issues, they never list the environment.